am, there we go. I am Sharai from A Nightmare on Fear Street, the podcast. Thank you both for being here and congratulations on opening week.
Thank you.
Thank you. First off, I have to just sort of fangirl. I was at lunch with a friend talking about Maria Full of Grace and how we both loved it. And so, like, my friend is going to be jealous. I'm going to talk about this for a hot minute.
Good.
But we are here today to talk about Barbarians, which is, I don't want to be punny and say it's a feast, but it is a lot to ingest. So do you have a favorite scene or moment from making this movie or after you saw it all put together?
My favorite moment, I think that I have a few moments. I mean, like I love when the transition between just sitting, hearing horrible news, and then suddenly there's something else even harder.
Yes.
I love when the camera comes back and then the two boys are like struggling in the floor, but they're still in the same position. It was awesome. That's kind of like my favorite moment of the film, actually.
And same to you, Charles.
My favorite moment, I do love, the moment where I won't, no spoilers alert, but Adam, when he's on the floor and says the line that he says, and then the moment stops, Lucas stands up and the doorbell goes, and that's just when the music has stopped. That always gives me a good feeling, especially when watching with an audience, because everyone's like, oh, I can't believe you done that. But the moment, the scene where Eva comes in to talk to Adam about whether or not they want to stay, that's probably my favorite piece of acting in the film, because you get to really understand their relationship and see it. And that was the purpose of that whole section. So I love that.
All of those are great moments. I went in cold. I knew nothing other than the name. And so I was watching this dinner situation happen, and then we had a drastic turn. And I was just wondering, what was it like with the violent turn? Like, was it fun choreographing? Was it like stressful? Like, what was that even like? Because there's a lot after that point.
Well, it was, as far as the filmmaking goes, it was quite set in my mind how it was all going to work up until that point. After that point was slightly more tricky, because there's just a lot more moving parts. And actually from that point until quite near the end, there's no dialogue. And so it's all in behavior. So and you've got to keep track. There was also a lot of setup, there's relationships, there's stuff going on. There was a lot of stuff to cover, and it was quite mentally taxing for me to like get coverage of everything and make sure that it was all clear, especially without dialogue. And then everyone's safety was obviously very important. And you're dealing with stunts, and so that was quite new to me, and again quite tricky. I didn't feel scary in the sense of like violent scary, because you're in it and you're making it, but I hope it has that effect on people.
It does. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, but this is your feature debut as far as writing and directing?
That's correct, yes.
What was it like wearing both hats, especially for something that is this, I don't know how to phrase it without giving things away. Yeah. What is it like for this kind of a project?
Well, I think because I'd written it, I felt quite I felt like I was probably the best person to answer a lot of questions, particularly when it comes to character questions or why things were happening. Technically, I was just really fortunate to be working with really experienced and fantastic actors, and other HODs, particularly the DOP. So it's not easy, but I loved it. I really loved it.
Love to hear that. So What do both of you want audiences to take away from this movie? Because there's a lot to unpack and a lot to chew on. But what's one thing you want to make sure does not get lost?
Um, I think perhaps that it's not enough just to know what the right thing to do is. You actually have to do it. It's part of having integrity and being a mature adult. And if you don't, when chaos comes, you might be in a bit of trouble. That's the I guess the central theme of the film. Although it's quite a lot of other stuff that goes on.
I mean, I have a few friends that told me, "Oh my God, the movie! I didn't realize the movie was gonna be so funny. Like they have like really like these pockets of comedy, of lightness, and it's such a good combination between like being very, what happens is very heavy. It's a home invasion, and then you see these people with like gags, and but then you see like these light moments that you just it's just is it like horror? Is it I mean like is it comedy? They don't quite know where to put this movie, which for and I heard it a few times that it was just very nice that it was not just a violent movie that they're gonna get gagged and they're gonna get bloody and people are gonna die. Like there's a combination of those two that make this movie fun to watch.
100% agreed, because a dysfunctional dinner party is always a good time, and then you add those other layers and the things that are going to be happening, and it's just like, oh, there's other kinds of chaos afoot. uh, so yeah. uh, is there something that no one has asked you that you've been dying to talk about, and that's for both of you? Something, it could be something small like a favorite costume, or it could be something grander, or just something no one's asked you and you've been waiting to be like, this happened, or I like this.
I mean, listen, you're the second interviewer that we've had. We haven't done like a lot of press, so this is like fresh. So every question that you ask is new for us.
I love this. Uh, awesome. Do you have something you want to talk about, Charles, again?
Not as Catalina said, everything's new. I mean, I do. I did try and inject some humor into it, and sort of awkward, weird sense of humor, which is mine, and I enjoy that. I think both of them. I think both comedy. I think a really good comedy is set up when you know the characters and you put them in different situations, and I think similarly with horror or with any sort of action, only really has an effect when you can really empathize with the characters. So I know it seems like different things, but in my mind, it fitted together, I hope.
It does.
It does. It does. What is something you discovered about yourself during this process? Because I'm imagining you filmed this during a pandemic. Was it before?
Yeah.
It was a year before.
Lucky. I lucky. So what is one thing you discovered about yourself while filming this? Because I mean, again, it is a lot of moving bits and parts. And so I don't know if there's something you didn't know about yourself or something you didn't know about working on something like this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so this was my first film as a director, so pretty much everything I didn't know. So it was yeah, it was a really steep learning curve, but I think it's such a team effort, and you do just rely on everyone. I mean, and I think trusting good people around you. I probably would have known that before, like rationally, but afterwards, you really, really know that that's the way to make a film.
Awesome.
And I think just working with Charlie and having the luxury to rehearse. We went into rehearsal, I don't know, like for a week, or a little bit longer. I can't remember, but it was just a few days where we just sat down and we just talk about the scenes and we kind of like walk around. This was just so helpful. Like usually in films, you don't have this, as I said, luxury to just sit around and talk about it. And if you have questions, that's the moment where you just put everything out. And if you want to, it's it's something that in America we don't do. And then suddenly I meet like I these English guys are amazing. What are they doing? I want to keep working here because this is just so helpful. Not for I mean, for my character is great, but for me as an actress to know the other actor and to know the other actors and to know my director and to feel comfortable the first day going into set, knowing these people and feeling comfortable with these people, which sometimes I feel that when you're a TV show or you're doing a movie here in America, everything is so rushed. Like you have to stand here. Why? Because there's light, and the light is perfect for your face. But in this moment with this movie, there was no light, there was no nothing. Like how do you think you're gonna walk? You're gonna walk right or left? I mean, like he gave us the freedom to just explore, which is so
Mm.
necessary, and it would be amazing if we can do that in every single movie that we're going into, because the results clearly pay off.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, this is my first film as a director, but I come from the world of theatre, and I think that was my. I felt much more comfortable. We marked up a big gymnasium in a school with all the areas, and just being able to play and rehearse everything, as Catalina said, asking me questions, figuring out background, asking each other questions about their relationship, just meant that when we were on set, we had more. We could think before we acted, so people could act before they think. Like it sort of allowed that freedom, and I think also, as Kathleen also said, it allowed not just the characters, but as actors to be able to get to know each other, and to get to know me, and for me to see them and what would be the best way to work with them, because everyone's individual. So it actually came from a Sidney Lumet book, which I read about mapping out the floor. So yeah, I loved it. I would definitely only
Great.
do it.
Yeah, definitely great.
I love that, because I was going to ask about the prep work, and I'm trying to keep track of directors and writers who have a theater background, because there's so much interpersonal relationships happening, and it's such an engaging dinner. And so like you almost forget why you're here, because clearly I got the screener because it's a horror movie, but I was just like, oh, this is how we feel about so and so. Oh, they have a history. So that makes me happy.
Yeah, I mean, the intention was to always give enough drama between the characters that even though you know what's going to come, by the time it comes, you have forgotten.
100%. Catalina, what drew you to this script as an actor? Like,
I mean, it's not an everyday script that you find for characters sitting in front of a table just talking about life and having these underlying tensions between them, and it's just like it's the unspoken things that I love about this script, that you read it and it's just for people having dinner, but what's underneath the relationships, the Lucas character with my husband, and then me and him, and then it's like it's so interesting. And when I knew that Tom Cullen and Ewan Ryan was going to be involved, just makes this so rich, because I've seen their work and I know who they are, and it's just, I knew it was going to be great, because you're going to be working with great actors that they will just bring everything to it, and they did, and it was fun. And those weird underlying connections were there since the beginning. I mean, like I think through rehearsal they were very clear, and you can just see it on the theater. It's awesome.
awesome. Yeah, no, I really, really loved all of the recognizable faces in this cast, because I live on TV like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, everybody I know has in the last 5 years of television is like here. And so that was wild. And just like seeing you all get to like play together and have these like intricate, intimate moments. That's not something that's often afforded, I feel, especially when I'm looking at thrillers, because we see a lot of thrillers around a dinner table, but they don't all have all of the baggage and the weight and the double meanings and the hidden meanings. So that was just a good time.
Thank you.
I believe I have to let you go. We're towards the end of our time together. Thank you for your time. Again, congratulations on Barbarians. I hope you get to enjoy your opening weekend, even in 2022, because you've earned it. Yeah.
Thank
Why
you so much.